What if Titan protagonists had quirks from My Hero Academia? Well, I'm here to answer that, using logic strictly based off of their known abilities, making each one as diverse as possible and not too OP for the My Hero verse. So let's start with an easy one. Shiro Emiya. His ability projection will allow him to create weapons and other objects he can imagine. The more he knows, the easier it is to make. His limitation will be that he can create either one very large object or multiple smaller / medium objects. He can use these for close quarters, utility, or even as projectiles and swap them out accordingly to his needs. Following that, we have Kiritsugu Emiya. Like his origin bullet, he can apply this effect to an object, and when contact is made, it will nullify a person's ability to use their quirk for a temporary amount of time, up to a few minutes. And alternatively, we could go his time alter ability, allowing him to speed up or slow down to perform whatever task is needed. Next, we have the extra protagonist, that being Hakuno or Hakunon Kishinami. Their ability will be called Hack. It's a projectile that takes a more digital or glitchy form that they can shoot in small bursts. Alternatively, if we make them more powerful, we can give them the ability to copy other abilities, similar to how their Dead Face version inherited the ability of multiple deceased masters. But when they do this, they will take a much darker form and become more aggressive when doing so. It will be limited to one ability at a time. Next, we have Sieg from Apocrypha. His ability will be to turn into a dragon. If Ryukyu can do it, then he can as well. Alternatively, we can give him Frankenstein's Bride's Blasted Tree, allowing him electricity, or a power ability similar to All Might to transform and become Siegfried, with the downside of stamina loss and fatigue, based on how long he's used it. Urisutsumi from Fate Requiem, due to her dread spirits, will be able to manifest them in the form of black liquid that can take many shapes. Due to the nature of these dread spirits, she will sometimes have an issue controlling them if she isn't focused, and they also make her blood poisonous against servants, so translating that into My Hero verse, it will make her blood poisonous to most people in general. Ayaka Saijo, one of the protagonists of Fate Prototype, who knows how to use basic forms of witchcraft. We'll translate this into her quirk, giving her the ability to manipulate feathers, of course without having feather producing abilities herself, because in the story she is presented as being lesser than her sister and not that skill of a mage in general. This will also reflect in her abilities, requiring her to be a bit more resourceful. Now here's a big one. Monika Saijo, Ayaka's more talented older sister. Because she's said to have many abilities, quite literally every magecraft in the world is possible. With her ability, she is quite literally an anomaly, surpassing all those around her, even servants, who are beyond human now. One of her biggest struggles is that while she has high quality circuits to make her more potent, her quantity is low. So I believe we can translate this into an ability to also copy others, but unlike the others, while she can only copy one at a time, once she's copied an ability, she will in fact be able to use it at any moment she deems necessary. And it will always be at the same level, or most likely at a higher level than how she first saw it, making her better than the actual user of said ability. She also shows the ability to have poison resistance, she's tamed a beast, she's been very persuasive amongst other things, and we can roll that into the copy ability itself. Ilia from Prisma Ilia will have the ability to turn to a magical girl, allowing her energy constructs, energy projectiles, the ability to fly and transform. As she is transformed, she will just be stronger and more powerful in general. And her quirk can even take the form of creating a separate entity, similar to Tokoyami's Dark Shadow, except with Ilia, she would have Ruby, who, while technically a part of her in this case, is not attached to her, and will have their own separate personality. for Ilya to have to deal with. Following that, we do have Ritsuka from Fate Grand Order. Because they do not show to have any particular abilities to work with outside of what their mystic codes do, I guess we could say they'll be quirkless in this situation, or because of their ability to get along with people and to make strong connections, maybe they could have some form of persuasion when working with people, making allies a bit easier than the normal person. And lastly, for Fate characters, we have Miyamoto Iori. Because he's a swordsman who's mostly skill based, who can use magecraft via gems, or just give him fire manipulation to mix with his swordplay, allowing him to also have flame slashes, making fire stance even more literal than it already is. This way he can be not only flexible, but not solely reliant on his power. Next we have non-Fate protagonists. We'll start with Alko Alzaki. I decided to go with an aspect of her true magic, giving her event displacement, which will take the form of her taking incoming attacks that reach her field of influence and moving them seconds or minutes into the future. While it doesn't work on organic materials, like let's say someone trying to punch her, it will work on inorganic things, energy projectiles, or organic things that are no longer connected to a person. Her limitation will be she can only do this 3 times before having to release one of the events moved into the future. And given this ability evolving, it could have it replace her current self with either a future, more powerful, or even a younger version of herself, with her abilities on a basic level being affected accordingly based off of what she needs. And the limitation of this is that she won't be able to hold as many events as she did with the first part of her ability. Next we have Sojiro, also from Mihoyo, who will have a basic strengthening quirk that will increase his overall performance the more he's concentrated on a task. This way it will relate back to his development in the story, where as he becomes more modernized and trains less, he gets weaker than when he started, compared to his time training in the wilderness. Shiki Tono will have abilities similar to his Pure Eyes, which is an inherent ability to his clan, his specifically having the ability to see things that normally cannot be seen, giving him superior eyesight beyond that of normal people and what they're able to perceive. While this does sound vague in terms of what it can actually do, it has a lot of potential in terms of interpretation to be a very useful ability depending on how it's used, and given time it could potentially evolve into a less deadly version of his Eyes of Death perception. On top of that, if we go into remake territory, we could give him gravity manipulation. Narioki Shiki, while having multiple personalities, I feel we should have her have multiple quirks as a result of that. Her void personality will basically have the Eyes of Death perception, but instead of being able to kill people with it, she'll be able to see weak points on someone or something. As long as she can see it, that person, regardless of whatever defense they have, will always be vulnerable to her attacks. On the other hand, her usual personality that is out will have some form of foresight that will span a long range, paired with her fighting skill, making her a very tough opponent. And finally, we'll end this with Sion from Melty Blood, who will have her Ether Light, allowing her to manipulate strings, and these strings will have the ability not only to shapeshift into things, or to an advanced degree people, but also if it touches somebody, it will allow her to be able to read their minds and potentially even manipulate them to some degree. And while I know I did miss one Fate protagonist, Lamina from Fate Lost in Hiriar, I don't actually know what she does. I can't really find anything for her. Comment below what you think her quirk would be. And if you want to see more what ifs from me, then comment below what characters you'd like me to tackle, and check the what if playlist that also includes a video of what if Triple C didn't scrap any content and how the story might have changed.